Citizen Talks is a podcast series featuring discussions with humanitarians, activists, artists, and changemakers, exploring the global humanitarian issues that shape our society, the world at large. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Citizen Talks. This is your host, Minkailu, and we are joined today by Steve Nouri, the CEO of Gen AI Works. Steve, thank you so much for joining us today and being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, first things first, I want to make sure that those members of our audience who may not be familiar with you can get a little bit of insight into what you do. So can you tell us a bit about yourself and specifically what it is that you are doing?
Sure. I'm data scientist by trade. I studied software engineering and data science. I delivered many courses for universities. But at heart, I think I'm kind of an intersection of an AI innovator, educator, and a community builder. I also founded, as you mentioned, and I'm CEO at Gen AI Works, the largest AI community in the world. We just hit 11 million subscribers.
Wow.
It's a super exciting time to be able to help communities to learn about AI and actually leverage specifically generative AI for what they like to do, either for their own jobs, life, creativity, whatever is exciting for them.
Right. That's interesting. So what's the nature of the community? Like, what exactly does it do for the members?
We started first by becoming the curator of the latest news because there was a lot of noise in this particular field, coming from everywhere. Everybody was too excited and they were sharing things that might not be factual.
Right.
So we started distilling and curating that, and then we added micro courses, more deep down mentorship, collaborations, and now we are using a little bit of AI to derive some of these learning journeys. We're building on top of this. So next week we are going to announce our new AI sort of open source product, which allows people to build generative AI agents and also collaborate with other AI agents from other platforms. So we're just trying to add value more and more to the community.
Interesting, very interesting. So this subject is actually particularly interesting to me, AI in particular. I think that a lot of people are not fully aware of what's going on with AI at the moment and the explosion of development that's happened, especially since ChatGPT. But things are progressing really quickly, like very quickly. So can you give us like a general overview of the sector at this moment? Like, where are we in the world right now with AI, and what are the implications of that at this moment?
So AI used to be a tool that would apply to narrow objectives and for single purpose. And now kind of it shifted from there to a system that is able to adapt to new challenges, to learn, to generate, and also to reason. So recently, the models are able to deliver all of this in a sophisticated format, and the growth is no longer linear. It's exponential. We realize it's crazy to see all of these new projects coming almost daily that would top each other from one or the other perspective, either the quality or reasoning, or just becoming a little bit more robust or cheaper. So what we are seeing right now is actually sort of a revolution that in a real sense, in the real time, the AI models are becoming more general purpose use. And they're becoming more sophisticated to be actually used in different tiers of productivity or innovation, even in product discovery, and in drug discovery even, which is a profound sort of a use case.
Right. So LLMs were, I think, primarily, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like predictive models, where it would sort of guess the next word based on all of the information that was available to it, everything that it had learned and processed over time. So are we at the point now where it is beyond that, where it's not just predicting, but now it's kind of almost, I don't want to say thinking, because it's not a human, but could you sort of call it that to a certain extent? Is it reasoning and going beyond just like, oh, what's the next word that should be in this sentence?
That's a good point. So LLMs are still next token predictors.
Okay.
From the, I would say, the mechanical perspective. But what we know right now is deep down, lots of other layers are doing many different tasks in order to do the next token prediction right.
Okay.
So that's the actual interesting part of these LLMs that are sort of delivering these high quality results. And most of these models are changing the structure to become more comprehensively complex and going further away from a monolith kind of an LLM, where you have a big blob of lots of weights around these tokens and how they might be related to each other. So that, for example, the new models that came out, especially the open source ones, which we could see the sort of the structure and architecture, we're seeing like the mixture of experts, as of like having different parts and sections of these models, understanding and being expert in certain capability, and they work closely and in collaborative with each other. So these are like more profound, deep down sort of architectures that are showing that something deeper is happening rather than just what we are seeing as a next token prediction. And there's nothing wrong with the next token prediction, because in some sense, as I'm talking, I'm actually adding words in a sequence. And it might not be too far from what these LLMs are doing. The interesting part is about understanding what sort of topic they need to tackle, how they need to generate these sequences. That's why when you see like the cohesive sort of a text that has meaning, purpose, has a complexity that will go beyond just a stats model.
So I think something that's become clear to me, at least over the past couple of months, or I guess it's been years now, maybe even, is that this technology is going to be deeply integrated into all of our lives in a big way. And I think that's probably a conversation that's happening in offices, in places all over the world right now, where people are like, what can we do? Like, how can we bring this into our processes? So I wonder if I can get your opinion on what's the impact that this is going to have on our society when it does become more thoroughly integrated into almost everything that we do, right? What are the positive effects of this, and what's the dark side of this?
I mean, obviously, we're hearing a lot of hypotheses around both sides, and both of them are being amplified just to show the importance of this. But if you want to be practical and sort of pragmatic about what we are going to see probably as a sort of middle ground, the positive side, obviously, it's going to help us to tackle some of the problems that we haven't solved it ourselves for many, many years. Like, as I mentioned, drug discovery is going to be one of them that makes me very excited about. Like, we are going to be cancer-free maybe in 5 years. And that's not too far away from the truth. And this is something that we are seeing, like moving towards discovery of the proteins and these complex problems that is not easy to sort of untangle by the scientists. So this is one that I'm watching very closely. But at the same time, there are things that are happening right in front of our eyes, like education, which is a big deal for our Gen AI sort of a community.
Yeah.
It's about generating better content and making it more available to people, more personalized.
Yeah.
And think about, like, there are people who still do not have access to a great quality education around the world. And this is something that is going to profoundly change our lives and the way that we learn and collaborate with each other. But then on the dark side, I think essentially if we don't think about the governance and we don't collaborate with each other, there would be certain consequences. And what happens is what I shared with you from the positive side can be used for the negative. Like think about drug discovery can be used to make some biological weapon, for example, which is not going to be very, very nice for sure. And at the same time, the greed and the profit might push certain companies to leverage AI without putting the moral compass forward. I think these are. I don't want to go too much into dystopia at this point. I think we can think about both sides in a sort of a very balanced format. But the reality is the governance, ethics, collaboration. If it falls apart, if the greeds come forward, misuse becomes one of the things that I'm very sort of worried about. And one of the consequences that might be unintentional is just AI going rogue without us being able to understand or prevent it. So these are like a bunch of scenarios that might be the dark side.
Right. This AI going rogue thing is kind of like the historical nightmare of society to a certain extent, right? You got Terminator, you have all these films and sort of, dystopian visions of things that people are afraid of happening if this thing becomes way smarter than we are, which it seems like it probably will at some point or another. Where would you peg the chances of something like that actually happening, though, that this kind of runs out of our control and it just decides maybe it doesn't like us or it's going to actively work against us to some extent? Like how realistic is that possibility?
So to answer that, I need to leverage some of the experts. So the godfathers of AI, the winners of the Turing Awards, they're literally divided in half. I mean, like if you add Professor Andrew Ng in one side, so there will be Jan LeCun and Andrew Ng more, thinking positive, and they wouldn't actually put a lot of weight on this sort of scenarios versus that we have two other scholars and professors, Yashu Bengio and also Jeff Hinton, Professor Jeff Hinton, on the negative side. So what happens here, both of them are highly sophisticated experts with deep knowledge of AI. They actually understand the technology and the trends very, very closely. And they have sort of opinions on the two sides of a spectrum, which tells me two things. One is that we don't understand it properly, because if it was very clear, then we wouldn't have this clear sort of two sides of opinion from these experts.
Right.
It would probably be more closer to each other.
Right.
At the same time, we have seen that as we progress, we understand more about these AI models, and we feel that we can control them a lot more than we thought. Like think about hallucination.
Yeah.
It used to be one of the biggest challenges that we were facing. We got a lot of these memes coming from everywhere. On social media, you would hear a lot of stories of hallucinations, but you don't longer hear about it as much. So it was something that kind of like were tackled, and I wouldn't say it's 100% over, but we kind of got rid of it probably 90-80% already.
Right.
And it's 6 months ago that we were talking about it in all the sort of news, and many of the sort of keynote speakers were putting this as major topic. It's no longer there.
Yeah.
So it's a long answer to what I would believe, that it's probably a very low chance that we're going to have a rogue AI that would make the decision on our behalf against us. But there is a chance. And when you have such a big, profound sort of a threat, you think about it deeply. So even though the chance might be very, very, very marginal, I would highly suggest that still we keep an eye and close look at what we are building.
Right, because that would be like an existential level threat to a certain
Yes.
extent, right? Okay, so I want to go the other way and talk about the sort of utopian vision of the future, where we have a society that is extremely productive.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is taken care of. Resources are very adequately distributed. There's surplus, abundance even abound for everyone to take advantage of. Just most of the sort of, let's say, busy work or labor intensive aspects of our society are handled by machines. All of these things are taken care of. And we have sort of eliminated, I think, a lot of the things that people busy themselves with today that may seem like filler activities or things that just need to get done or tasks of some one level of irritation or another. When we get to that point, if we get to that point, what then, in your opinion, and maybe this is a philosophical question, but at that point, what becomes the role of the human being on Earth when they have everything that they need? All these things are taken care of. There's no more time wasting with irrelevancies. What do we do then?
That's a great question, because essentially what I showed you about dystopia and that low chance of being wiped out will make you question then why we're actually doing it.
Yeah.
So then it comes to the answer and what you just mentioned. Everybody is so excited about those opportunities because these are something that we can feel, we can see it's coming. It's not, it's no longer as sort of a story and what we might dream of. It is becoming closer to reality, and we expect that within like 5 to 10 years, we will hit certain level of abundance that will be completely understood by by the public.
Yeah.
So then it is very interesting for everyone to look back. What is the purpose? What's the meaning? Which is a more profound kind of way of looking at life. And in many cases, we might go back to the way we used to live before scaling and mechanizing thing became important.
Yeah.
So think about like family first, being more closer to people that you love and you care about, versus that because of this industrialization, and also because everybody needs to find a job and provide and need to become more, more experienced. They need to go to different cities, different places, and they will go further from their own communities. So we might go back, be closer, and exactly because of similar reason, people might not have as many children anymore because we might not be able to provide, afford, or take care of them.
Yeah.
So again, these are like things that we might rethink as the abundance comes. So we go back to what we might used to think as values in our life. Human connection definitely is going to be the important factor, and we're going to put a lot of value in these kind of deep relationships.
Okay.
But then at the same time, as I said, like meaning, consciousness, these are going to be big questions that we are going to talk about in the next couple of years. And we're going to define what does it mean for us. Not necessarily we need to have a tough job of making products and goods and maybe delivering certain services to feel good about ourselves. And that is probably what we would need to dig deep down to understand more. A lot of people talk about chess in the same way. We used to think that because we are good at chess and we are only animal or human or whatever existing entity that can play chess and can play it very good, that's why we are doing it. Now we know that was not the reason, because now AI can definitely beat anyone, and the best of us even have no chance. And it happened long time ago, and still we are enjoying playing chess.
Right.
I myself play chess pretty frequently with my friends, and I still enjoy it, although I know that I would never be the number one. So meaning can be different and can be more profound.
Yeah. I find it like it's an interesting thought for me because I have a son, right? He's about 3 years old. And I think about the fact that, you know, when I was in college, the smartphone came out.
Yeah.
And it was very, very soon after that it just became ubiquitous. Like it was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was an explosion and it was an integral part of our lives to the point that we almost became cyborgs to a certain extent, right? It's like a machine extension of the human body. And now I see the generation of kids who grew up or were born around that time. I'm not going to reveal my age exactly, but you know, they grew up and they've only ever known smartphones, a world with smartphones, and all of the positives and negatives that that brings. And I think about the fact that, oh wow, my son is never going to grow up in a world where he didn't have AI. And so I think, what exactly is it that I need to teach him to be prepared for this kind of world as it emerges? Now, the only thing that I've been able to come up with thus far is to say, well, I guess I need to teach him extreme agency to a certain extent, right? Because when you have these systems that you can make essentially do anything,
True.
all you need is an idea in your head and the will to execute that idea, to actually bring it into fruition, right? You can talk to the system, you can tell it do this, do that, make iterations on it. So if you don't have that will, then you're going to end up letting the thing think for you as opposed to using it as a tool. So what would you, though, as someone who's very deeply steeped in this space and you are teaching people about AI, like what would you say to people, for example, in my position? You're a parent, AI is coming, you want to be prepared for it, you want to prepare your child to live in this world. How can they do that, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, so we are looking at different horizons, short-term, mid-term, and long-term. And obviously, predicting the future is right now is the most difficult thing.
Right.
Right.
As always.
So it's been always been difficult, but as you can see, the speed of the change and the development in the AI world is another level.
Yeah.
And it's going to be getting faster and faster. So even I sometimes feel a little bit overwhelmed. But what I would suggest very highly to everyone that's thinking about how to deal with the new world is just keeping the curiosity open, always think about new opportunities, and don't think too much about the current state that we are as the future state. Giving you a sort of a example, because that's going to be a little bit more complex to untangle. Knowledge workers became the most sophisticated, high-paid individuals in the world in the last couple of decades.
Yeah.
It might no longer be the case.
Yeah.
And that not necessarily means that's a bad thing. You might go back to Renaissance where artists are being high paid. I mean, it does not end the world. It's just a different way of life, different way we put values and things. And we might not think about it in the way that we are thinking, that everything needs to scale to be valuable and to be sort of profitable. Maybe that unscalable thing is going to be more interesting. I have a friend who's an investor, and he invests very heavily in AI products. At the same time, he goes very heavily on non-AI and totally against what we are seeing, against the grain. So a company that is in very niche tourism that would take you to the middle of the jungle and you would have a retreat and enjoy life.
Right.
And what he sees is like, we're going to push both fronts forward very heavily, and they affect each other. So with abundance, we have more time, we can have a choice. And think about if you are Bill Gates and Elon Musk, you have choice, all the choices in the world. You no longer need to work, and you can do whatever you want. What do you want to do now? Do you want to, get engaged with people more, help others? Do you want to think about humanity, how you're going to enjoy your life, like where are the places that you want to be, rather than, do you want to be in the middle of a very busy city that you're going to stuck in the, in traffic for hours? Yeah. So these are like going to change everything.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about it, a little bit terrified, a lot more excited, and because we are part of it, we're building it. So I feel that this is a chance for me and a lot of other people that are involved with it to actually put their sort of perspectives and sort of influence what might come out of this new era.
Okay. So one thing that you hear whispers of all the time is the AI race, I guess you could call it. Particularly in the context of America and China. I think I would point to, for example, DeepSeek, where this innovation, perhaps you could call it, from China that was released into the open market, I think over the course of a week, like wiped $1 trillion off of the market cap of US tech companies out of just pure kind of fear and this all of a sudden like snap realization that like, wait, we're not the only ones working on AI right now. That's what's going on. So in your opinion, if you had to say, if we were saying, let's assume that we're in an AI race, maybe you wouldn't frame it like that, but I think some people would. Who would you say in the context of those two parties is quote unquote winning at this moment? And what do you think the implications of this are going to be long term in terms of like global, just geopolitics, generally speaking?
Yes, we talked about AI impacting our lives and work and everything. So obviously, it's going to be a profound impact. And governments, state actors are deeply involved in enhancing and advancing these technologies and leveraging them for economic gain, also sometimes for other notorious reasons. So maybe expansionism or whatever it is. But that's the reality that we are living right now. As you mentioned, US and China obviously are on the top of the race. What I would see, they're very close. Although US has an edge right now, because of many reasons, the foundation work that they've done many years, top talents that they attracted from all countries from all around the world in the last couple of decades, especially after World War, and access to certain tools and hardware and infrastructure that is not available to the rest of the world. For example, you will see the NVIDIA chipsets are no longer available in certain countries or banned to even be sold to certain countries. So this will keep the US dominance at least for short term. That's 100% expected. What China showed with that DeepSeek moment that a lot of people called it the Sputnik moment, and some people, I was one of the people that's like, maybe that's not the Sputnik and it's going to be a different story, They kind of made it to a positive outcome at the end, but you never know what's going to happen at the end of this story. So it might be its own story. I believe that in the short term, still US going to lead it with all the reasons that I mentioned, but it feels that China is leveraging their own smartness, their access to maybe cheaper resources, and collaborating with certain parts of the world. They are following very closely, and specifically leveraging AI in applications. That is, China is one of the countries in the forefront. So it is going to be, unfortunately, a reality that I am probably the most scared of as one of the consequences of the AI race that might end up to become push us to the dark side of this history, which is not interesting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel that we all are thinking about ways that we can collaborate, and I hope that logic will prevail and we think together about the consequences of this going wrong, especially by putting speed and too much speed and not a lot of governance and sort of collaboration. This has a chance to go wrong.
Right.
I'm hopeful that, like many other projects that the whole international community came up together and collaborated, like non-proliferation for nuclear, or like gene sequencing and cloning humans. This might be a chance for us to look at those great examples and say, we have done it, we can do it again.
Let's hope that AI just kind of forces us to work together or something. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. So I want to ask about your own initiatives. AI for diversity. So can you tell us about it? What it more specifically, like what it does, and what kind of drove you or motivated you to set that up, to build that?
Obviously, it's a non-for-profit initiative. We started around 4 years ago, where I could see the AI dominance and the future, that AI is going to be making decisions for us. It will be sort of driving every aspect of our lives, and there will be people that are going to miss out because they don't have data available. They are not involved in making these tools or making the decisions how these tools are being built and tested. So 4 years ago, brought together a team. We sort of thought about how is the best way to maybe tackle part of this problem, because it's definitely more complex issue. So what we did, we actually started a grassroots community project that we started helping people to run local events, in-person events, to bring the people that might be marginalized, underrepresented, might not have access to similar sort of products and services that the majority of some companies or countries might have. And that was the idea. It was more about bringing everyone together and finding those who are missing out. It was in person for many reasons, because we have a lot of data on the internet, and if somebody who already is highly involved would have had access to all the educational courses on YouTube or other platforms. But think about the ones that are already missing out and they don't have even that digital footprint and might not have a similar access to the internet. They're going to be even more marginalized in the future, and they're going to miss out heavily. It might not be even something reversible. So that was the original idea. We're still trying to do this. We are still getting help and collaborate with governments, entities, public, private. And it seems that it resonates with many people. It's something that is logical. We haven't got a lot of pushback, and we got a lot of help. And we're going to continue opening up more chapters in different parts of the world.
Okay. Where are you based now? What locations you guys have?
So mostly in Asia at this point, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Taiwan, UAE, also India, a couple of other countries. They are opening up. Some of them have more longer histories. Obviously Australia, since I'm from Australia and wanted to start it from the home country, and also New Zealand, great neighbor. So this is like the ecosystem right now, but we are thinking to push it further to Africa this year.
Okay, cool. I'm very interested in what the implication, because Africa's in a unique position where it has the ability to sort of leapfrog certain developments because it just kind of passed them over completely. So I'm very interested in what the implications of AI could be in a place like that. You know, for example, with mobile banking, they went right past the traditional banking system and a lot of people just went straight to mobile banking. And that was the first time any of them had been officially banked. So in a context like that, you know, how do you feel like AI can make an impact in those types of places where you have, you know, a lot of issues with basic survival, sustainability, generally speaking, you know, poverty, all these kinds of issues?
Of course, this is one of the easiest sort of outcomes that you can predict from leveraging AI more predominantly in these countries that kind of were missing out on many opportunities in the last couple of decades.
Yeah.
Especially we are talking about Africa
Yeah.
in a case. So first of all, because they might not have a lot of the infrastructure, it's just easier to apply some new and more advanced sort of a infrastructure like the mobile banking, where in a country that has a lot of legacies, it might be much more complex with a lot of regulations and legacies.
Right.
So that's actually great news. You can invent and advance much faster. So adoption rate going to be also faster. But at the same time, bringing people to the certain speed and understanding that they can leverage, but not only leverage, but also impact, influence, build, and iterate, that's more interesting for me. So this generative AI can help with education in one way that I mentioned, like over-personalization, and it can be just changing the language and the tone to what people can digest very easily. Because as you probably know, most of the content that is being generated is in English.
Right.
And we all know that English is the first language everybody speaks in the world, but it's not literally everybody. You go to countries, you would know that although it feels like everybody can speak and understand English, it's not the case in many countries. And that's totally a revolution for everyone to be able to have access to the courses that is the quality of top Ivy Leagues on the same day that they are available in the US. So that's just a beginning. And the health is another profound one. Like just access to a GP that might feel so obvious right where we are speaking right now, and people might not question the value of such a thing.
Yeah.
It will save hundreds of thousands of lives if it's available to an average person in certain countries in the world.
Interesting.
And these are big resources that they're losing because you know, healthcare and education are the top of the list of human needs in order to be able to function properly and deliver value. So I would imagine that like by certain very subtle changes, some of these countries are going to become much more productive and to deliver very highly you know, desired services, not only for their own country, but maybe for the whole world.
Amazing. Okay. So before we go, are there any sort of insights, last words that you would like to leave for our listeners that you think they should know from you?
Sure. I mean, obviously, as I mentioned, AI is going to impact everything, but it's not just a design. AI is something that we are building together. So what I would like to leave everyone with is to be involved, to get involved. Don't just be a listener or a viewer. They need to learn how to leverage it and how to build it and how to make an impact. And that's why our communities are being built. That's why I'm very excited about communities. They need to make sure that at this stage that everything is going forward very fast, they don't get left behind. So hopefully we all going to collaborate with each other across countries and to make AI safer and more human in the good for the humanity and for the public.
Amazing. Okay, so if our listeners would like to connect with you, find out what you're up to, what you're working on, where can they get that information from?
Sure. I mean, LinkedIn is a major place for me that I share content to people. Obviously, it's more technical and professional, but also I'll try to sort of make it more digestible for the public. So that is what I try to do for many years. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. At the same time, Gen AI Works is a company and sort of community that I'm very excited about. And if they would like to learn more, we have a lot of free resources.
Okay, great. Thank you, Steve, so much for being with us here today and sharing your insights. We really appreciate it. And thank you to our listeners for joining us for another episode of Citizen Talks. And we will see you next time.